So, good day once again. We are going to continue with operations management. So, we are now on the discussion of transforming inputs into outputs. So, what happens in between that? So, as you can see in this figure 3, all operations produce products and services by changing inputs into outputs using input transformation output process. So this figure shows the general transformation process model. So this is a transformation process model. So operations are processes that takes in a set of input resources which are used to transform something or to transform themselves. So into output. So, to transform something, kay base na pa siya further process to produce an output. Or, diretso na siya, and then diretso na po ng output. Wala na siya second process. So, into outputs of products and services. So, the outputs are either products or service. And although all operations conform to this general input transformation output model, they differ in the nature of their specific inputs and outputs. For instance, if it is a service, they might have a slight difference. If it is a hospital, the output are relieve patients. If it is a bike manufacturing industry, the output will be, of course, bike. The inputs are different. For the hospital, the inputs are the doctors, the nurse, the medical facilities. And for the bike, the inputs are the metals, the parts, and the like. So the process is that if it is the service, it is more on the treatment and the laboratory and the likes. And for of course, the bicycle, the process is to the metal, from scratch metal to they process it to make a bike. So transform resources. These are, like I said, materials, information, customers. These are the input resources, facilities, and of course the staff. And then they run into the transformation process. Like I said, this is how it's going to be transformed. And if it is done, the output is either products or service, or sometimes both product and service. And of course, the end consumers or the users are the customers. And now for the next slide, to better understand the definition, the input transformation output process, these are some of the theories or the definition of terms that you need to familiarize. So one set of inputs to any operation process are transformed resources, as you can see in the figure before. These are the resources that are treated, transformed, or converted in the process. That's why there are treated, na they use the word also transform or converted, because even if a certain material or a certain input is put into the process, it does not mean the output is literally that is it. Some, it might need to go to another process, additional parts, additional service probably, so that you will really get the desired output the consumer wants, or what is the nature of the business of that institution. So they are usually a mixture of the following. This is the input transformation output process. So the input may be materials, operation with which processes materials could do to transform their physical properties, shape, or composition, for example. Most manufacturing operations are like this. So if you are in the banana Q industry, of course, the materials is the banana, and then the sugars, and the oil, and of course, the fuel. Other operations process materials to change their location. So it may be processed here, but that is not the final output yet. It will be sent to another area. Parcel delivery companies, for example, like the one we purchase online. it is not made in the Philippines, or it is made in the Philippines, but sometimes we purchase something from other countries. So the parcel delivery companies are the one delivering us the output. The output is the product, but the delivering companies provides the service, for example. Some, like retail operations, do so to change the possession of the materials. Finally, some operations store materials such as in a warehouse. So that those are materials, part of the input. Information can also be an input. Operations which process information could do so to transform their informational properties. So that is the purpose or form of the information. Like accountants do this. You give them the data of your transactions of your business, and then when the output will be the financial statements and the likes. Some change the possession of the information. For example, market research companies sell information, because market research, when you know what is happening on the market and you know what the market wants, the researchers are paid for this type of input. Finally, some operations such as telecommunication company, which is very vital as of the moment in this online class, change the location of the information, like the bandwidth of our internet or the messages we send through emails or text message or even call. The call is from Manila probably, or other parts of the country or the province or within the city maybe, but those information are being transferred. Next is customers. Customers can be also part of the input. Operations which process customers might change their physical properties in a similar way to materials processors. For example, hairdresser. During the quarantine, we cannot just go to the salon, right? But if it was the old normal, we can just go to the salon and have our haircut, our mani-pedi, and the likes. Or for those who have a lot of money, cosmetic surgeons, they restore whatever they want to restore or enhance on their physical attributes. Some stores politely accommodate customers, like hotels or airline. For example, airline, mass rapid transport system. So the customers are the input. And then bus companies transform the location from one place to another, while hospital transform the physiological state, your health, your physical being. Some are concerned with transforming their psychological state. There are also services doing that, like the psychiatrist. I know that you're familiar with our common joke, or the inside joke, that if you're not psychologically in a good state, you are going to be sent to Talay, right? We make that as a common joke here in our city. So, or probably not psychological state, entertainment, when you watch love story movie, or when you watch Korean dramas or movies in Netflix, series on Netflix and the likes, or even music. This type of entertainment soothes the psyche, our mindset. Or when we are in theater, or we listen to the radio, or during fiesta, if there are theme parks, or there are, we call it perya. When after the perya, we have this sense of excitement and ecstatic. Lipay kayo ta afterwards. So these are changing the psychological state of our body, of our mind. And then the input, to continue, other set of inputs to any operation process are transforming resources. These are resources which act upon the transformed resources. There are two types which from the building blocks of all operations. So these are additional input. So katong ganina, we already discussed some of the materials, the information, customers, but there are also add-ons to it to complete the transformation process. So these are the facilities. So the buildings, equipment, plant and processes technology of the operation. So what are these? So the buildings, of course, we see if we go to a hotel, we cannot enjoy the service if there is no rooms where we can relax, or the amenities, or if it is a hospital, we avail of the service of an x-ray. It will be useless if they don't have an x-ray machine, the equipment, and of course the process on how to do it. And of course, with the facilities are important, but the people who are going to operate and maintain it are also very, very important. These are the staff. So the people in the operation. So the output from the input plus process are usually in the form of product or service, or a combination of both. So good service combination is called a continuum. We experience this actually when we dine in our carinderia, in the fast food chain in downtown, or restaurant maybe. So what happens? Are we getting service or are we getting products? Actually, we are getting both. How? When we go to a restaurant or even in the carinderia, we get the food, right? That's goods. But then after that, how they cater you, courtesy, how they manage to give you the right seat or provide you with probably water, other service, other things and stuffs, the add-ons, those are service. So we are not just being satisfied by the food and makes us full, but we are also satisfied or availing of the services they are giving us. That's why most often we are actually having both goods and service, a combination of both, a continuum. And I believe you most of us have experienced this. So now you understand already that input, transformation, output process. So now, like I said, there are two types of outputs: goods and service. Although goods and service often go hand in hand, like I said a while ago, and it's called continuum. There are some very basic difference, and so many. You might say that there are differences with goods and service. Of course, there is, but they have so many similarities that we can discuss and identify. So, what is goods? Physical item produced by business organizations, and of course, service, activities that provide sum of time, location, from, and psychological value. Manufacturing and service are often different in terms of what is done, because the goods are physical attributes. The service are more on the experience and activities they provide. But quite similar in terms on how it is done. It's more on the process, how it is done. So now we discuss goods versus services, the similarities that they have. Degree of customer contact. Many of manufactured products that produces goods, of course, they have less customer contact compared to services. So the example here is, although services such as internet providers, utilities, and mail service do not have that much degree of contact, when there is a high degree of contact, the interaction between server and customer becomes a moment of truth that will be judged by the customer every time the service occurs. So when is this contact happen? When you call the customer service. the time you avail of it, because you have to go to their store or the utilities maybe. When you want to avail of electricity bill, the product is the electricity, right? The electricity bill, sorry, the electricity. So the product is the electricity. You don't have contact with the electricity or whatsoever. But when you avail of it, how they provide service to you, like good connection, not much power interruptions and the likes, that is service. So that is where moment of truth or the contact happens. Labor content of the job. Services often have a higher degree of labor content than manufacturing jobs do. Because most manufacturing jobs, there are technologies, equipment, and machineries that do it for the organization. Although automated services are an exception, there are also automated services. Japan is a very good example of automated services provided by receptionists and the likes in some hotels and restaurants. Uniformity of inputs. Service operations are often subject to a higher degree of variability of inputs. Each client, patient, customer, repair job, and so on presents a somewhat unique situation that requires assessment and flexibility. Conversely, manufacturing operations often have a greater ability to control the variability of inputs, which leads to more uniform job requirement. Manufacturing of RTWs, like our shirts, our shoes, the manufacturing firm are able to control that this batch is all size 6, this batch is all size 7, and these are the design for this batch. However, if you want your laptops to be repaired, when you go to the service center, you fall in line. Your case may not be the same of the person before you or the person after you. That's why in labor content of jobs, the service is more on, it's like customized, because each, like as defined, each client or each customer have different cases. Whereas in manufacturing firm or the production of output, it's just when you cook banana Q, the output are just banana Q. Right? So I hope you understand that. And then a measurement of productivity. Measurement of productivity can be more difficult for service jobs due largely to the high variations of inputs, as discussed in the previous labor content of jobs. Thus, one doctor might not have, this is an example, might not have higher level of routine cases to deal with, while other might have more difficult cases. Unless a careful analysis is conducted, it may appear that a doctor, this is an example, it is a service, with the difficult cases has a much lower productivity than one with the routine cases. Do you understand this? So, some of us may be always present in hospitals, hopefully not all of us, but one way or another, we have tried consulting with doctors for certain illnesses that we have. If it is providing service, as discussed here, it's not routine. It's not routine that as a doctor, if you handle today, you handled all cases of fever and flu, tomorrow probably not anymore. Probably tomorrow you may handle cases of diarrhea and other hard or difficult cases that you may handle. So today you may have catered 100 patients and provided them with the necessary prescription. But tomorrow, if the cases are difficult, probably you can only handle 5 or 10. It's because it depends upon the cases at hand. This is for the service. Well, in the manufacturing, they can control the number of outputs dependent upon the demand of the market or the demand of their customers. So next is quality assurance. quality assurance is usually more challenging for service due to the higher, variation in input, and because delivery and consumption occur at the same time. Unlike manufacturing, which typically occurs away from the customer and allows mistakes that are identified to be corrected, services has less opportunity to avoid exposing the customer to mistake. So why is this? If you have your new cell phone, if there are something wrong with the software probably, or breakage of the cell phone, this can be, you can claim for warranty. Like, you go back to the store where you will purchase it, they process the warranty claim, and then if it is the manufacturing, or probably during the transportation of the phone, then they will change the phone. So if they have already changed your item, then you're still satisfied. However, in service, let's just say you want to avail of a massage. This is more challenging because, like it is here, it is said that delivery and consumption occur. Di man pwede ka mo-avail kag massage yung kuman unsa, imagine na nimo ang massage, di ba? So delivery, so the masseuse will deliver the massage, and then you consume the massage. So the degree of quality and quality assurance of how good, how satisfied you are of the massage occurs at the same time. That's why after the massage, if you are very, very, very satisfied of the quality of the massage, you give probably a bigger tip. And if you are not satisfied, probably you complain in the customer's desk that the masseuse is this and that and the likes. So quality assurance is rather hard to measure in the service industry, but a little bit easier in the manufacturing industry or the delivery of goods. But if it is a continuum, both product and services, you can attest of the quality of the goods. At the same time, you can also attest the quality of the service at the same time. Inventory. So many services tend to involve less use of inventory than manufacturing operation. This is because in the service, like in a hotel industry or in a massage parlor, you cannot just hire a lot of masseuse, or a lot of, probably a part of the inventory are the oil and the essentials that you're going to use. However, unlike manufactured goods, service cannot be stored. Instead, they must be provided on demand. So if you want, it's like you're availing of only serve, but those are service provided on demand. If you demand it, then the company should give it to you or deliver to you. And then they have lower inventory cost for the service. And then, of course, for manufacturing firm, they have to have enough inventory, but not too much inventory also, because that will also cost them. Enough inventory that also matches with the demands of the market. So manufacturing jobs are often well paid and have less wage variation than service job, which can range from highly paid professional service to minimum wage worker. So as they said, manufacturing jobs are often well paid because some of these jobs in highly industrialized countries, the more you use your force and not so too dependent on equipment, they pay you well. But if less equipment, then probably you have minimum wage. And of course, in the service industry, like if you are a lawyer, dependent upon the case, they have certain rate. And if you are a physician, a doctor, they have also certain rate, and they are being paid. Like if you are availing of a surgery and the surgery is a little bit difficult, then you have to pay high. And then ability to patent. Product design are often easier to patent. So designs are easier to patent. Like the design, the logo design are easier to patent. The products that you are using right now, they are being patented. And some service cannot be patented, making them easier to competitors to copy. Like you cannot patent. Oh, you might ask, what is a patent? A patent is the legality of, like, one cannot just copy. I will mention a company here. one cannot just copy how Coca-Cola Coca-Cola's font because that is being copyrighted. Or no one, I'll mention another company here, Jollibee Food Corporation. No, one cannot just copy the pic the image of Jollibee because that is being patented. And if you try to copy it, you copy the patent, Jollibee, or the example that I gave, and Coca-Cola can sue you. So that's it. However, in service, you cannot patent how effleurage and petrissage, that those are a stroke in massage. You cannot patent that. Like every time someone copies, use it to massage another massage parlor, you can sue that parlor for copying your massage and effleurage technique, right? So it's harder to copy, patent rather, the service. So that's on the differences and more on the similarities of goods and service. So now we're going to tackle process management. Actually, what we have been discussing is processes. However, these processes will not be successful unless you manage it properly. So there are categories of process. So process, as defined by Johnston, are an arrangement of resources that produce a mixture of products and service. So consistent of one or more action that transform inputs into outputs. We have been transformed, right, from falling in line, queuing during the enrollment, and now we go to online enrollment. And it is also a process. The process for the physical enrollment was posted when you enter the gates of our school, and then you have to follow the flow, this and that. If this happens to you, you have to go to this. If this happens to you, you have to proceed to this. And then during the online enrollment process, there are also things that you have to follow, right? An arrangement of resources that produce a mixture of products and service. You get me? So there are three categories of business processes. Upper management processes. This governs the operations of the entire organization. Upper management. So the examples include organizational governance and organizational strategy. Operational process. These are the core process that makes up the value stream. Include purchasing, production, service, marketing, and sales. So there are also processes for this. So the upper managerial processes, these are done by the VPs, the CEOs, and the likes, when they organize and govern the strategy involved in the organization. And then, of course, the operations of the organization. What are the operations of the organization? So purchasing of what? Even in service industry, providing service, or just plainly providing product, or a continuum, both providing service and product, they have purchases, right? They may have production. And when they provide service, or if they market it and during sales, they have to have a smooth flow of process so that communication within that processes will not also be misinterpreted by the staff of the organization. And of course, there are also supporting process. These support the core process. Examples include human resources, the information technology. Information technology has greatly helped the processes of the organization. Like instead of calling someone from your other branch through telephone, you cannot just email them, chat them. And then, of course, the human resources. Without the human resources, who will function in the operational process and the upper management process? So these are supporting processes that are very vital in the organization. And then, lastly, the process sequence of supplier to customer. So supplier may be service supplier or product supplier. Business processes, large and small, are composed of a series of supplier-customer relationship, where every business organization, every department, and every individual operation is both a customer of the previous step in the process and a supplier to the next step in the process. So this figure illustrates this concept. A major process can consist of many sub-processes, each having its own goals that contribute to the goal of the overall process. Business organizations and supply chains have many such processes and sub-processes, and they benefit greatly when management is using a process perspective. Business process management activities include process design, process execution, and process monitoring, which are going to be discussed further as we go along with our course. So, as you can see in the illustration, as mentioned here, and every individual operation is both a customer of the previous step in the process and a supplier to the next step in the process. We go back to the enrollment process during the old normal. What was the first step you have to do? You have to get your enrollment form, right? So where did you get your enrollment form? So there are people in charge for it. So the inputs there, the inputs are the forms. So those are the suppliers are the registrars. Then you are the customer during that time. Supplier-customer relationship. And when you already get your enrollment form, you fill out the subjects you need to verify because you are going to be a supplier to the next step. So the next step is you evaluate. So you are now a customer to the dean's office because you have to be evaluated. And then the dean's office supplied you with the evaluation form. And then you verify. Because that input will be a supplier, your supply again to the next process. And then the customer na pud mo during the screening or during the advising. So supplier-customer relationship again. You supply the advisor with the necessary data. As a customer, you supply the advisor. And then the advisor will also supply with the necessary services you need. So that when you go to the next level, you have all the data you need. Because you have all the supplies you need. Before you can have or before you will end the enrollment process and be officially enrolled. I hope you understand this, how business process or how process are being done. Because actually, every day and every time we do something is a process, and every step of the process are inputs and outputs and supply to another process. It is continuous. Okay? So this will be the last slide for part 2. I hope you understand it. The business process, the processes as a whole, what is the difference between or the similarities between a production company that produces goods or a company that produces service. So, thank you and have a good day.